ready?
Got open man. DJ Moore. End zone. Touchdown. Touchdown Bears.
I am Jeff Joniak.
Blitz is on. Down he goes. Oscar.
What was it like playing for Coach Ditka?
I don't want to answer any questions like that.
Pressure coming. He's in big trouble. Down he goes. Montez Sweat.
And etc.
Now, Bears Etc. brought to you by Geico, with the voices of the Bears, Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer.
Well, Week 10 approaches, and the Bears will welcome in the New England Patriots at Soldier Field for a good old-fashioned noon start. It's been a minute since the Bears have been home after all these road trips, but the home base is going to be rocking and rolling. Welcome into our episode 109 of the Bears Etc. podcast. It's brought to you by Geico with Super Bowl winning Bears guard Tom Thayer. I'm Jeff Joniak. This AFC affair will be the last one against that conference. Then it's all NFC, and we're joined by another Super Bowl champion who did it twice with the Super Bowl champion New England Patriots, a six-time Super Bowl championship football team, Rob Ninkovich, Chicago area product, Purdue football player, and one heck of a story as well. Kind enough to join us. Tom thought of you, Rob. Said, hey, we got to keep it in the family. You know, the local guys, the Joliet connection, the Lincoln Way, East and Central. And so here you are, and a great guy to talk to for sure. How you doing, man?
What's up, guys? I'm doing well. Happy to be on with some fellow Chicago guys.
Chicago, yes.
Go get ourselves a Giordano's or something, right?
That's right. Get a beef and a sausage. Beef and a sausage. Yeah. What would be the favorite haunts for you if coming back home? What would it be?
So my favorite spots are Riccobenni's, right? That's good beef. I like Pops. And Aurelio's. If I'm gonna have some pizza, I gotta go Aurelio's. I mean, Portillo's. We all know Portillo's, but that's you can get that in Dallas now. So it's not so much a Chicago thing. But when I get home, I definitely like to have myself some Pops beef or Riccobenni's. Good
Back
stuff.
in the day, did you ever go to Thayer Brothers?
Thayer Brothers? No, man, no.
He's too young back then.
Yeah, I was. I just hit the big 4-0, so I'm getting old.
So you don't even remember our Super Bowl, the 85 Super Bowl.
My mom was, I was literally
January 26, 1986.
So I wasn't even a year old yet. So my mom was probably just feeding me.
Well, so when I've seen you on TV before, I love the fact that you incorporate the Saturday Night Live skit of the super fans.
The Chi-Town super fan, Bob Swirsky.
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, you got to think like when I was in the 90s, being from South Holland, I was born in Blue Island, moved to South Holland when I was probably like 3, right? And I was there all the way up until high school. The 90s were all the Saturday Night Live skits with the super fans, and you got, Chris Farley. It was like iconic, right? So when now that I'm, what's crazy? I don't know a lot of people know this. So a lot of my friends from Chicago still are very big super fans. So every year, even when I was playing, my buddy Rob Yeager would be like, I think this is the year back, when they had Cutler and all these. And I'm like, I don't know if it's the year, buddy. I don't know if it's the year, but it would like crush them. So when I retired, my first NFL football game ever was the double doink game.
Oh.
That's my first ever football game. So
wait, you never went to a Soldier Field game as a kid?
No, I never went. No, never went to a game. My old man's an iron worker. My mom's a teacher. My dad worked 7 days a week. He never had like Sundays off. Like he was always working. So I went to a few Cubs, Sox. I'm a Southside kid. I went to a couple, like 1 or 2 Sox games, maybe one Cubs game when I was very small. But football, I love football. We just didn't have the means to like go to a football game. It was pretty expensive. But I would always I would put the TV on, and I would I would watch the Bulls and play basketball. I'd put the TV on in the garage and like play while they were playing, feel like I was a part of the team, and then football wise, I didn't play football till high school. So,
oh, wow.
I love football, but I just never played till high school. And, but getting back to my first game, my buddies, Rob Yeager and a couple of Chicago guys were like, hey, you got to come to this playoff game. This is going to be an insane game. And tailgate, because I had never tailgated. Because you think, like, when you're a professional football player, every single fall, you're, all the way from high school, college, professional, like 20 plus years, I never tailgated ever. So I did the whole, we were down by Lake Michigan and all everybody was having a good time cooking. It was cold. It was a cold, it was a beautiful sunny day, but it was a cold game. And it was just crazy to see the emotion of the fans, and it, for me, it's kind of weird because you separate the emotion, because as a player, of course, you're invested as a player because you're playing and that's your job and you're trying to do really, really well because you're contract and you're trying to play and you're trying to make money. But as a fan, I'm like, what are you crying about? It's like, what are you crying about? It's just a game. Like these guys, the guys that just played, 60 minutes afterwards, they're giving up a little piece of themselves to play in this game. I understand why they would be upset, but as a grown man, I couldn't cry for someone else's football game. But, I understand the fan aspect of it, being super fans.
Have a new or gently used coat laying around? Well, head to your local Jewel Osco until February 10th and donate one of your new or gently used coats to the 36th annual Chicago Bears Coat Drive. Help keep Chicagoans warm this winter.
Just to give people a little bit of your background, I love guys in the NFL that went to a junior college that made it to the NFL because their perseverance is unlike anybody else. I had an easy road. I went to Notre Dame 4 years, got drafted, and went in. And then I think about your journey from Joliet Junior College to Purdue to a couple of NFL teams, and you're on the freaking best team in the National Football League for a long time in the New England Patriots. Like my dad also worked 46 years outdoors every day of his life at Commonwealth Edison. So you had that upbringing. And my mom was she was the person that really pushed me the most to stay into football, get active into football, and be a football player. Who was that person for you?
Nobody told me go play football at all. My parents always just said, hey, if you're going to start something, never quit and always finish. So, I think back, I tried to wrestle one year, and in 8th grade, I was 185 pounds. Okay. So it was the only year I ever wrestled. And I remember going to the first practice and they put me at heavyweight, right? And heavyweight's like 220. It's like if these guys are 300 pounds, 275, big dudes, right? Like fat, not just like big, like they're sloppy, right? And I go to the first practice and I'm like, yo, Dad, this isn't for me. These guys, like, I'm not a heavyweight. And my dad's like, yo, you started this thing, you're going to finish this thing. Like, you're not quitting. So I got through the whole year. I hated every aspect of it. I know wrestling can teach you a lot of great things about, body position and leverage and all that stuff, but I held the single leg up for the first time. I'm like, I'm supposed to put this on in front of people? Like, there's no way. So, I got through the year, but I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself. And then the next year, because I was too heavy to play I was too heavy to play Pop Warner. So the next year, Lincoln Way Central, I try out for there's 1,300 kids in my class. So we had a massive school. Lincoln Way Central at the time before they split was huge. They were a powerhouse. So they had like an A and a B team. They had cuts because they had so many kids come out for football. And, I was probably 6'2", 200 pounds as a freshman. And they instantly put me at offensive line. Like this guy's an offensive lineman. So
center, guard, or tackle?
I was all three. They put me in all three just to see, because they probably assumed I'd be 6'5" or something. I didn't grow much after my freshman year, but I just remember thinking to myself, this has got to be the worst position in football. Just pan down in the ground, never hitting it. Like, you're always blocking somebody. You never get to go and attack somebody. You're always blocking and you get no recognition. There's actual games. Some of my buddies watch my freshman football tape and they're like, how the hell did you make it in the NFL? How did you make it, Rob? Because I would pull and go to block somebody and I'd think they were coming too fast. So I'd just olay them, let them go. And they would just light up. They would light up the running back. So I didn't really love offensive line. So that I asked the coach, like, hey, I'm faster than the running backs. Like, we would do foot races and I was always fast. Like, I could always run. So I'm like, I think I'll be better at something else. And they put me at defensive line, and that was it. That was easy. Just go get the football, put your hand in the ground. And, I give a lot of credit to my high school coaches, Rob Gleamy, Rob Zavonar, Coach Z, Coach Palisard. And then Tony Katauskis is probably the most important of all of them. Coach K was a very, very great coach when it came to teaching the fundamentals of footwork and your hands. And if it wasn't for some of the coaching, I honestly think if it wasn't for some of the coaching at a young age, and that's why it's really important for kids to get proper technique and to understand how to use their hands. And then it goes back to wrestling, leverage, right? Like, how do you beat somebody that's bigger than you? You got to have speed and you got to have leverage. So, I think back to those younger days. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was learning the game. I fast forward to my senior year of high school. I didn't think I was going to play in the NFL. I just knew that I really loved football, and I loved playing the game. And I didn't have much opportunity after high school, even though I was all state and I was a really good football player. I still didn't know much about the game. I had a lot to learn, and I had taken visits. I almost went to Northern State University in South Dakota. That would have been a mistake.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it. I'd probably still be there right now with, surrounded by stuffed animals if I had went there. I remember going on my official visit, and the tuck rule game with Tom Brady and the Raiders was on the television. And I remember watching that and thinking to myself, I don't think this is the spot for me. I don't think this is the place I need to be. So Bob McDougall, Joliet Junior College, they had just won a national championship, and they had really a great football team. They had a bunch of great, talented Calvin Hayden, who played he actually had interception against the Bears, right?
In the Super Bowl,
in the Super Bowl. Calvin Hayden was on my team, and Bob McDougall, he called me up. He goes, "Hey, Rob, we're right down the street. You want to play great football, and you want to maybe potentially take the next step, and this is like a stepping stone. Come to JJC." Now, you want to talk about taking a step back. You go to high school where you have a bunch of people at the games, and it's good football, and you're in the championship game, and we lost to Stevenson to go to the championship game against Maine South. I think Maine South beat Stevenson the senior year that I was playing, but you always had competitive good football, and there was probably maybe 3,000 to 5,000 people, good amount of people watching these games. And then you go to junior college, and you're playing in the stadium that Joliet Catholic plays in on a Saturday morning with your parents clapping, like about 10 to 15 people. It really makes you decide, do you really love the game? Do you want to do this? Because, I'd get up in the morning. New Lenox to Joliet wasn't like a quick drive. So it took me about 45 minutes to get there, go to class, and you're in class with a bunch of people that are trying to go back to school and get their associates, or people that are starting school for the first time at 40, or, house mom that's deciding to go back to school. So it's definitely a different environment. And then when you go to football practice, you're wearing your high school cleats, your high school shoulder pads, they give you a helmet, and that's it. And you're in your locker room. When you go to get dressed for practice, you got a guy next to you that's just a part of the Joliet Junior College workout club. So they're getting ready to go work out, and you're standing next to them, and they're sharing a locker room with everybody. So it was awesome. I wouldn't change anything, because that really gave me a lot of the hard work, the dedication mindset, hardening myself to just dealing with ups and downs. Because when you're in the NFL, there's always going to be stuff that happens. There's always going to be injuries. And for me, I was never a guy that somebody's going to say, that's the person that we want. I was always the guy that had to show everybody that I was the one that should be there. But because I was 6'3", 60 and I wasn't 6'5", 275, or, you know, when I did this, I didn't look like, you know, a statue. You know, it just took a lot of persistence and just beating it. You know, anytime I was in a situation, I just said, you know, if I beat your best player, I think that's always what I should do. If I could just beat your best player, who's your best tackle? And that was really that was what I always would do. And even when I went to Purdue, you know, they didn't give me a scholarship as a defensive end. Joe Tiller, he offered me a scholarship as a tight end, even though I never played tight end. He's like, hey, I think you'd be a great tight end for us. And I asked him why. And he said, well, you know, we have Ray Edwards and Anthony Spencer. We got a couple guys here that are young, that are a true freshman, a true sophomore. They're starters. You're going to come in as a junior. And I remember just telling myself, well, I should probably I'm probably better than them. Even, you know, granted, those guys are still my buddies. I thought I was better than them, right? You know, Ray Edwards was 6'6", 280. You know, he looked great. You know, Anthony Spencer, who's a first-round pick to the Cowboys. He was an awesome football player. So we had 3 really good football players on that team. But when I signed with Purdue, my only request was, can I get 1 practice at defense and 1 practice at tight end? That's all I need. Just give me 1 practice. And the first practice, I started out as a tight end, and I did okay. I mean, I could always catch and I could run. But the second practice, they had this tackle named Mike Otto, who was a really good tackle. He played in the league for about 7 or 8 years. Wow. And one-on-ones was my favorite thing. So let me go one-on-one against somebody. Everyone's watching, and I had a really good day. And they came to me afterwards, and they said, well, we can't keep you on offense. I said, well, see, I told you.
Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois, right here at home, driving access toward healthier communities through it all. All that results in this. Right around the time when you were hitting your groove, it was you and Calais Campbell were the only 2 players in the NFL with 400-plus tackles and 40-plus sacks since 2010. All that work, all that uncertainty, all that journey, and a multi-time Super Bowl champion. That's a pretty good story, buddy.
If you look at Calais, now that guy.
Yeah, that's a man.
No, that's a man. I was just hanging on by the skin of my teeth. But no, I think when I talked to a lot of kids, last year I was coaching high school football, and I try to just give everybody that I talk. It could be a football team, it could be a girls basketball team. I try to give everybody the same advice in a sense of, never surprise yourself. And I would always say, I've never surprised myself. I've surprised others. So I always had confidence, and I always knew that I was really good. And I always knew that I could play football at a high level. I always knew that. It was everybody else that was surprised. So everyone would be like, oh man, like you're pretty good. I'm like, yeah, of course. Like I know I work hard at this. I'm in the weight room. I'm conditioned. I was always confident in my abilities. And I think that's where some players in every aspect of sports, they get caught up in what other people think about them. Or if they read somebody's evaluation of them, they start to think, well, maybe I'm not good enough for this.
Tom, did you ever think that way?
No, I kind of was on the same line as Rob. I was confident in my ability, and I just wanted a chance. And, that's funny because I was reading about Rob when you got drafted, and I always kind of complain about this on the podcast. I was mad about getting drafted in the 4th round because I thought I invested and I deserved better. And so I had a lot of confidence in myself.
Yeah, and I think as a professional athlete, that's ingrained in every single professional. It's that building your self-confidence up, and you do that through training, and you do that through winning. And that's another thing. I'm coaching 8-year-old flag football teams right now, and I say, listen, we are going to have fun while we try to win. And I understand everybody is here trying to participate, but the goal is to win. And we all want to have fun while we try to win. Now, if we don't win and we lose, yeah, that's not going to be fun. It's going to hurt. But what do we do if we lose? We have to learn. We have to try and get better. We have to progress. And, this year we lost at Super Bowl and all the kids were crying. And I was like, listen, guys, we lost by 1 point. Okay. We lost in overtime. We went for 1 point. We should have I would have went for 2, but we went for 1. And, it just didn't work out. And, I just try to make sure everyone understands. And it starts at a young age too. And I think some parents, they might not get it. They think like, oh, why, it's okay. It's like, no, you shouldn't be okay with losing. You should be in a sense of, I want to win, because winning is, that's everything you do in life. If you get a job, when you graduate high school, you go to college, you get a job, you're trying to compete, you're trying to be great, you're trying to be good at what you do. And I think that the athlete is always trying to be better, to win. And, for me, I think for the longest time, when I had a few hiccups and, I tore my ACL and I lost some of the opportunities, and the opportunities were dwindling. I didn't have many chances left. And that's when Bill Belichick gave me an opportunity. I think about my mental state at that point was, I just need a shot. Just give me a chance and I'll be able to put my foot in the door, and then you'll be able to see that I'm a valuable piece to something that you're trying to create here, which New England already had. And, people talk about this all the time, right place, right time. I was at the right place in the right time. If the Patriots would have drafted me in 2006, I don't think that would have been in the right place or the right time, because they had, Mike Vrabel, they had Willie McGinnis, they had Roosevelt Colvin, they had all these guys, Teddy Bruschi. Like, I'm not going to come in there and be better than those guys. So when that wave moved on and then I was available and Bill brought me in and he had a vision for me, that was probably for me the most backs against the wall. This is my only option. And the Patriots gave me that chance. And then obviously we were able to do some great things. And playing with that team, you see what it takes. Bill is a very strict, very hard coach to play for. He's not easy to play for. It's not, here, go back to the fun thing. It wasn't fun to have such a critical eye all the time, but I enjoyed winning. I loved winning. So I was able to digest and take all that, Jesus, Rob, what are you doing here? Hunting for Easter eggs, head down. Okay. All these, it's 2 by 2, 3, all the things that I learned from Bill, and it was almost similar to the way I was raised a little bit. My dad's a tough guy, not an easy guy, but I also respect the heck out of him, do anything for him. But you understand when he walks in the room, you're like, okay, I got to do what he asked me to do, right? And similar to Bill, like Bill had a very strict, tough mindset when it came to how to build a team, how to play. And if you didn't do that, he easily moved on from you. So for me to have played for him for 8 years and started a bunch of games for him, it was a blessing that they brought me in there. It was right place, right time.
All right, this is for both of you guys. You both were big winners. You both have hoisted the Lombardi Trophy. Tom does it for his hometown team. How did you guys handle losing? Because I looked up your record, including the playoffs, Rob, and I don't have Tom's, but 110-38 in your career. Mm-hmm. And your point differential in those games was 1,410.
Back in our era, Dicka ran the projector on Mondays. So if you know that you had a bad game, it was going to be full of insults and verbal challenges for you. And I don't know what it was like for you, Rob, because when Dicka ran the projector, he held nothing back from anybody, whether you were Walter Payton, Jimbo Covert, Jay Hilgenberg, whomever it was. Myself, he was going to come at you if he felt he needed you to.
Yeah, Bill's the same way. I mean, Bill would go after Tom, and there are instances where, you'd be sitting in the room and everyone you have highlights and lowlights. So after a bad game or a loss, we would have a bunch of lowlights and nobody's safe. But the great thing about that is, that everyone is held accountable to a very high standard. Right. And, if you ever watch Bill after almost every single loss, he starts every interview with, I need to do a better job. Today wasn't good enough. I didn't do my job well enough to put the players in the right position to win. But then behind closed doors, he's going to tell you, what is that?
Yeah.
Like he gave me so much. It was such a sarcastic, yeah, good catch, Rob. But that's just the way our environment was. Our environment was very competitive. Even if it was a win, all right, we're moving on. If it was a loss, we spent more time dissecting the reasons why we didn't win the game, and then we had to work on those. So whether it was setting the edge, quarterback contain, offensively, not being disciplined, we would go through any issues that we had, and we would repeat those situations, improve them, put it behind us, and then try to move on to the next week.
So as we sit here today, are you more surprised about what Bill Belichick is today with the media, or that Gerard Mayo is the head coach in New England?
No way, Tom. It's that Bill is what he's doing in the media, because Mayo, I always knew Mayo was going to be a coach. Like, Mayo's a very smart linebacker. He was one of the smartest players that I've ever been with, as far as just quick and just getting on top of stuff and understanding where to be, getting everyone lined up. He was going to be a coach. So I always knew Mayo was going to be a head coach. I didn't think Bill was going to have the media personality that he has right now. Now, it could be a image repair tour because he's going to be a head coach next year. But the guy's making money hand over fist. So you can't, I guess you got to let him do what he wants to do because people are going to pay him to do it. It's just, it's odd to see him, doing commercials and doing podcasts and doing all the different things that he's doing. But, considering I understand the lack of sleep and the time commitment that he had for the last however many years that he hasn't been, that he's been involved in football, maybe not right now he's like, wow, this is kind of cool. Like, I can say what I want and I get to sleep too,
What is your take of the current Patriots?
Yeah, so I think that they got a quarterback. I think you look at Drake Maye and you look at this rookie draft class, the Bears got a quarterback too. I think you look at the top 3 picks, they're going to be really good. They're all going to be really good. I think Drake needs a little bit of help. I think he needs an offensive line. They could use a tackle. They could use a number 1 receiver. So when you are a rookie and you're trying to learn through failure, and you look at this past weekend, they lost in overtime to the Titans, but the last play of the game, Drake's running around and using his legs and making a play happen that shouldn't have happened, but he made something happen. So it gives you a little bit of encouragement to, okay, they have an off season where they have a lot of money. They're going to have a high draft pick. They have a lot of draft picks. Maybe they're able to bring in a bunch of guys, because you can't build a great team in 2024 through free agency. You just can't do it. You have to have a good draft. If you don't draft well, you're basically putting yourself in a really tough spot. And you see teams all the time. Like, you look at the Steelers, for example, they draft receivers well, and they seem to always have a good receiver that they draft. Helps them with their cap space, helps them in so many ways. When you can have a guy for 5 years that isn't, counting so much against your cap space, it helps a lot. So if they can win with Drake Maye and have a rookie contract quarterback, and for the next 3 to 4 years, bring in some talent and then sprinkle in some free agents, I think they can flip the script pretty quick here. But I think first and foremost, the quarterback was the key. Before Drake Maye, nobody wanted to come to New England. When you approach the receiver, like, hey, you want to go play for New England? They're like, no, who's my quarterback? I don't know who I'm getting the ball thrown to me by. I don't want to go there. So now you got a quarterback where maybe some young pieces or young receivers are like, yo, I'll go play with that dude. He's good.
Tommy, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. We're sitting here 6 months from now, and you're on the phone, and you're talking Gerard Mayo about coaching and everything. And all of a sudden you got an incoming call, and it's Bill Belichick. Mayo's asking you to be a coach for him, and Belichick is asking you to coach for him.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What do you got?
I'd have to so I would have to stay close to where my home is, right? And where my kids go to school. The coaching profession is a very challenging profession when it comes to your children and moving. And, I was talking to Parcells a few months ago. I was catching up with Bill, and we were talking about coaching, and, he said, the one thing about coaching is going to teach your kids to be resilient, because his daughters went to 4 different high schools in 4 years.
Right.
Now, he said at the time it was really hard. It was really, really tough. But after the fact, she can go anywhere and she can move and she can figure it out, and she can, it's almost like a military kid. You're moving from place to place. You don't know where you're going to go next. That's the one problem with coaching that, for me, if I was going to jump into the profession, I would have to make sure that my family, my kids, I got 11, 8, and 5, that's like my number one thing that I'm worried about right now is like, how do the kids deal with that? So I'd probably go with Mayo right now, just because I got this beautiful house that I've been in for a long time now, and I don't want to have to move.
Well, it's interesting because I dipped in, anytime things aren't going as well as people hope, and certainly in a town like Boston that has enjoyed just a bounty of success from the Celtics to the Bruins to the Red Sox and certainly the Patriots. There's a certain level of impatience to wait again, right? And I'm listening to what they're saying over there. I mean, the man's not even done his first 10 games yet, and there's already concern. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, no. I was preaching patience this whole offseason. Everyone was upset that they didn't spend a ton of money in free agency. My opinion is, why buy something if you don't love it? It's almost like you go to a car dealership and you're going to go buy a car that you're not really 100% sold on it. You're going to put yourself in a bad spot. So, look at other teams and look at what they've bought for big price tags, and they're kind of regretting that. So, if you have a lot of cap space and you're going to spend a lot of money, you better be sure that that guy is somebody that you feel character-wise and productivity-wise is going to be really good for your football team. If not, you're setting yourself up for cap hell.
Yeah.
You're in cap hell and you can't get out of it. Look at Cleveland. They're going to be in trouble with what they decided to do with their quarterback. And you don't ever want to put yourself in that position. Now they're going to have 2 years. The cap's going to roll over, and they're going to have a ton of money to go and to find somebody, to find a tackle. I'd go find the best tackle, pay him, bring him here. You got the quarterback now. So, I think the people of New England, the fan base of New England, think about when we were having that crazy score. You just said before you were talking about the big scoring that we would have in the 8 years that I played here.
Let me remind everybody, 110 and 38,
yeah.
And their point differential was a plus 1,410.
Plus,
it's not even fair. It's not even fair.
That being said, I can remember playing certain teams and being booed into the tunnel at halftime by our own fans and then end up beating the team like 48-7 or something crazy because we didn't score enough points. So me going back to the fans, they need to be a little bit more patient. And I think Gerard is a very smart coach. And, he took a lot of heat for talking about the toughness of the football team. That's what a football player does. For me, if you're on the football field and you can't stop the run and you're getting beat up and your team's getting run over and you can't do anything about it, you're going to look at everybody. You're saying, we ain't tough enough, man. We are not good enough to play. So you better strap it up and go make some plays or we're going to get our butts kicked. And I think that's the player in Mayo coming out after the game and saying, we're not a tough team. We can't run the ball. We can't stop the run and we can't cover kicks. That's not a tough football team. To be tough, you have to run the ball when you want to, stop the run, and cover kicks. That's a tough football team. So I think he was doing a great job trying to motivate his team. But hopefully he gets through this year and the fans can chill out. And, who else are you going to bring in? You have a guy here. You go get somebody else and fire him in a year too. Like, you got to build. It takes time to build a roster and build chemistry. I mean, look at the Lions. I mean, the first year, Dan Campbell wasn't the best.
Mom and dad, brothers and sisters, were they Bear fans? Are they Bear fans?
Oh, dude, yes. My mom is a big Bear fan. I used to watch Bears game. I mean, every Sunday.
No, you didn't watch. You were listening to Tom and Jeff on the radio with the TV sound down. That's what you were doing.
I would say you do have a great voice. You have a great voice. Chicago Bears. You have a good when you fluctuate the voice. It's really good.
Well, thank you. And Tom's not so bad either. We know he picks me up every time the ball's out. I don't know how he.
It's a tag team. You guys work together. It's perfect.
But I can't believe how quickly ball. Like, I can't. I know it's coming out, but he beats me to the punch.
That's the football player in him.
Yes,
right?
the Hail Mary. He caught it, and then I have to. Yes, he did. He caught it. Bears lose. I mean, it's amazing what you guys see as football players, because I know he taught me how to watch tape. You watch a ton of tape. Everything is just it slows down after a few years, and man, it's just this is your life's work. But that's one question. So they're avid Bears fans. That's good to hear. That's good to hear.
We had a bunch of Bears fans, and they're still all back. My parents are actually here visiting.
Will you tell them we said hello from Chicago?
I will.
And then my other last question before I give it to Tom, I heard a snippet of a podcast you were on, and you were talking something about Niko Juice.
Oh, my Niko Juice.
What in God's green earth? You got it. When I heard it, I thought you were making it up, but if you're not making it up, please tell the potion that you put together to get yourself ready to get jacked up for game day.
So I would actually bring it on the sideline. It was I used to take a Gatorade bottle and I would tape it with athletic tape, and I'd put Niko's Go Juice on it, right? So I would take 2 Red Bulls, I'd dump it in. Okay, I'd do a scoop of NO Explode. I'd do a scoop of Fast Twitch, which is like a pre-workout.
And the NO is the nitric oxide, right?
Nitric oxide stuff. God. And then they have this stuff called, it's called GU, and it's like these packets.
Oh, goo.
Goo.
I used that. I ran a couple of marathons, so I've had the goo. Yeah.
So
I've had the goo.
I would take the goo with caffeine, and I would squeeze like 4 or 5 of them in there for carbs to get the carb content really high. And then I would top it off with water and shake it up and get everything in there. And it was like I don't know, 1,000 milligrams of caffeine, in the whole
just
bottle.
Basically put into your veins.
Oh, I would just take a swig every now and then. And, guys, if they wanted a little pick me up, they'd have a little swig too. I'd just keep it on the D-line bench right there. And I never had any issues, so I'm good. Blood pressure's fine. Heart rate's good, so I made it.
Tom, anything similar that you took before going on the field?
No, just the packed in smelling salts and a little bit of in locker room fire ups medicine that
fire up medicine you can't discuss.
Whatever it took. Rob, it was back in the day where whatever it took to get you on the field motivated, and that's the way it was for me. So I remember the first Bears games that I ever went to in my life. August 16th, 1975. I was gifted tickets by a family, and I had a chance to go to a preseason game against the Packers. Have you been back to a New England game yet?
Yeah, so I go to a lot of New England games. I do stuff for the Patriots, and I'll do appearances, and it's tough because I can't actually watch the game. My son is 8, and he really loves watching the game. He's really into watching and trying to take it in. And the last time we were going, he's like, "Dad, can you just go and can we sit somewhere and nobody talks to you?" I'm like, Dude, I would love to go to a game and have nobody come, and because you can't say, hey, leave me alone. I'm like, yeah, I got to talk to everybody. Yeah, hey, what's up? And then once I say hi to one person, everyone else wants to say hello. So my son usually ends up, sitting watching the game when I'd love to. I took him to last year. The last game of the year was the Miami game at home. And I actually got stadium tickets to where I could just go and sit in a seat. And I was hoping that if I sat in the seat and just, had a hoodie, like a hat on and, stocking cap jacket, nobody would really see me, but they did a little, they did. But at the end of the day, I was able to sit there and my son actually, he enjoyed watching the game with me.
All right, last story. My last game in the NFL was Miami Dolphins against the New England Patriots at the old Foxborough Stadium.
Oof.
And so we used to stay in this really piece of garbage, 2-story motel.
Yeah.
And so Steve DeBerg was my roommate. And about 2 a.m, somebody pulled the fire alarm.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
He goes, "Are you leaving?" I go, "No, I'm not leaving.
No,
we can jump out the windows if we have to."
Exactly. No, you know what? The fan base has changed a little bit in New England. Back when you were there playing that last game, I bet you it was a little more rough and rowdy in the old stadium. It's turned into kind of a corporate, we win a lot of games, and they have the nice club section where everyone goes inside and they're nice and warm. Back in the day when it was the old stadium, they had metal bleachers, no club, just probably beer taps sitting in the easeway, the breezeway there, the old horse trough urinals. So it's probably a little more tougher atmosphere back in the day.
I've had some awful experiences there. Glad you got to go to the modernized new version of New England.
Yes.
Well, this was
nicer.
This was a lot of fun. We took a lot more time. You got good stories to tell, and we didn't even scratch the surface, but we appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks, guys. Have a great one.
Rob, big thrill for me, man. I appreciate you, and I loved everything you did on TV, and I used to turn it on just to watch you on all your appearances.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Good news, Chicago United Airlines is getting brand new planes with all the bells and whistles, like Bluetooth connectivity, screens at every seat, and room for everyone's roller bag. United, proud to fly the Chicago Bears, and you too. We're brought to you by PNC Bank, official bank of the Bears. Well, that was a fun conversation. Rob Ninkovich, I know you worked to get that interview, so we had a lot more to ask him, but just didn't have the time frame. But I know we both laughed because he played with Kyle Orton at Purdue, and we loved Kyle Orton here with the Bears, and you got a touchdown pass against Notre Dame.
Right. Listen, I have a lot of respect for Rob Ninkovich because he didn't take the easy route to the NFL. He went to a junior college. He went to Purdue. He got cut a couple times, got injured a couple times, and then went aboard the New England Patriots at one of their most successful eras in their franchise history. He's a really well-spoken guy, super funny and clever, and he's a local guy, and I think we should talk to those guys.
All right, Joliet Junior College for 2 years before Purdue, and he was a baseball player in high school as well as a defensive end at Lincoln Way Central, was at Lincoln Way East for a while, Blue Island born, New Lenox raised, Frankfort educated, but how good because they won a national junior college championship that year. Was that is that still a formidable entry for players to go from Joliet Junior College to a bigger program?
Do you think Aaron Rodgers is a good football player?
Yeah.
He went the junior college route.
Yeah.
And, Joliet Junior College is the oldest junior college in the United States.
So
it's got a long history of their sports tradition over there. And so I know when I was a young kid, they had a coach named Jerry Yost, and he came over to recruit me with the same zeal as every other.
Even though he knew you were going to a big school.
But, he said, look, I can give you an opportunity to perform and increase your skill level and all that. But I admire that about it, and that's why I admire guys that go to JCs and still earn the opportunity.
Bears fans, Steinhoffels is a proud partner of the Chicago Bears. In this Bears season, Steinhoffels is partnering with Special Spaces Illinois to create dream bedrooms for children battling cancer. For every false start caused by the Bears defense during a home game, Steinhoffels will donate $1,000 to Special Spaces Illinois. Shop in store and online at steinhoffels.com. All right, let's dig in to what's going on at Halas Hall in advance of the game against the Patriots. Some information that came through over the course of the week is, of course, the trade of Khalil Herbert to Cincinnati.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but fortunate. It's kind of a weird way to look at it because Khalil Herbert, he wasn't on the game day active roster because the Bears have quality running backs here. So Cincinnati came out and said, hey, we need a guy that can possibly contribute immediately, and Khalil's the guy. And listen, man, I think we all have a ton of respect for him and his investment in his football life.
Injury-wise, still no Jaquan Brisker as of this taping. He has not cleared concussion protocol yet. Obviously, that's concerning. But so is Andrew Billings. Pectoral surgery coming up. You know that injury. And anytime somebody gets a pectoral, you think the worst. And he is such a force inside. How significant is this?
Oh, huge, because Zach Pickens is just getting involved in the rotation. How many snaps does he have in him? Is he 100% recovered from his injury that can keep him on the field even when he's tired? But they got DeMarcus Walker who can play that position. They got Javon Dexter who could possibly move from the 3 technique over to a Billings position. But Billings also instigated and called a lot of the line movement. And when you talk about getting the opponent to jump off sides, especially some of these games at home, they jump because of the cadence of Billings as much as
move.
Yeah, exactly.
Move. That's what he yells. Offensive line, not sure what Darnell Wright's situation is. Braxton Jones, we'll see as the week goes on. Looks like Gordon's on his way back. Terrell Smith should be okay. Montez Sweat also. But some serious decisions to make up front of the offensive line. Yet another change. I mean, that's been the story over the last 3 years. And we'll see. I don't know what you think, what you feel should happen. I mean, I think Matt is enamored with keeping Matt Pryor at right guard and not messing that up.
Yeah, well, the development of Matt Pryor and Coleman Shelton and Tevin Jenkins at left guard, they've given a good, solid interior to that offensive line, a lot of rotation at offensive tackle, but Chris Morgan gives all these guys reps during the course of training camp. So I think he's got a solid understanding and evaluation who is the best 5 to go out there and play this next stretch of home games, because if they can keep 5 in place, I think they have an opportunity to improve because Caleb will be in charge of the cadence.
All right. Speaking of Caleb, his weekly visit with the media at Halas Hall, let's listen into a chunk of that as he talks about his own performance and the future of this offense moving forward.
I think, one, I understand that it's part of the game. That's the defense's job, is to get me down. I do understand also that I have to do better at certain times of getting the ball out, understanding the situation. It may be a third down, and those are times where you may hold the ball longer. But, if there's something underneath that can get us the first down instead of trying to hit maybe one of the outs or the bench routes or the dagger routes and things like that. You take the check down, give it to one of your guys in space, let them go to work. I think I can do a better job with that. And then over time, I know this is a thing, but over time, just, I've gotten better, been better with protections and things like that. Coleman's helped out a lot and things like that with protections. And so us just finding ways, and then within that, myself finding ways to be better.
When you say the throwing inaccuracy on film, is it puzzling to you? I mean, that has not been part of your game historically until an issue now. What do you make of it what's it like for you to sit and watch yourself on film? Yeah,
it's frustrating because, like you said, it's I've worked hard over the years of when I wanted to become a quarterback, of accuracy being the most important thing, and I still pride myself on that. And so, not being accurate, not being on time with things, is frustrating. Just because, like you said, I kind of it's kind of been my thing, something I've been at least pretty solid at. And right now, I'm not as solid as I've been, not as solid as I pride myself on, and definitely gonna get there. We're gonna get there. I'm gonna get there. I think it starts with me, and then it boils down from there.
All right. Anything stick out with Caleb?
No. The thing about it is, I think people have lost sight that Caleb is in a development year. They think that he should be a finished product after 6 or 7 games of his rookie year, and that's just not the case, because you go through learning experiences, whether you're playing early at home, first game of the year, then a couple of really loud stadiums on the road. You come back home, and then you go back to a couple of loud stadiums. There's a real, experience that's needed for the control of the tempo of an offense when you play at home and away. So now they're going to be back at home, and I have big expectations for Caleb.
Right, especially against a New England Patriots team limping in at 2-7. Their defense lacking some big-name talent right now. They got rid of 2 of their pass rushers, Matthew Judon and Josh Uche. They traded him to the Kansas City Chiefs, so they're still trying to find their way defensively under that head coach, Rob Mayo. We'll get into some of that in a second. But I think there's a big focus on the relationship between Caleb and DJ Moore, who had such a terrific year last year and has had great years. But, again, just because you score 10 touchdowns in 2 games in a couple of weeks,
right.
These are different defenses, different looks. They're going to take away what your strengths are if they're a really good defense. The New England Patriots still, like they did under Belichick, they're all about matchups. So they're going to isolate, okay, what's going to hurt us the most? Let's take that away and let the rest fall where they may. That's how they play.
But, I just can't understate how valuable being in control of the cadence is for Caleb. And I have nothing bad to say about the developing relationship between DJ Moore and Caleb, because this is something that experienced receivers has to live through with a young quarterback who's gaining experience with every snap. But I look to see how profitable they were in those games when they're at home. I think that's going to come back in these next couple weeks. I think you're going to see that offense that was in the significant development stages with the few games at home.
All right. As far as the Patriots are concerned defensively, what sticks out to you right now?
I think everybody's taken kind of a page out of the last opponent. So there's a lot of similarities in the lineup of the New England defense that we saw in Arizona. So what did Arizona do? They put 5, 6, sometimes 7 guys at the line of scrimmage. They kind of counted your protectors and how many guys that we are going to put at the line of scrimmage to make your quarterback think during the cadence. So Gerard Mayo, what does he do? He's a former defensive player. He played for Belichick over all those years. So I think he understands how to try to take control of the variations at the line of scrimmage to make everybody be thinking, or maybe a hesitant, that 1 second of a second slow that slows down the process of the offense. So I'm interested to see how they look at the Bears' offensive line, they look at their protectors, and they look at the pressure that they can put on Caleb.
It appeared to me that Kaiser White was kind of the spy last week for Arizona. Not in the true sense every single snap, but for a bunch of that, he was just lingering around, and if he saw an opening, he was going, or he was keeping an eye on Caleb leaving the pocket. Was that fair, and will they do that?
100%. So if you're running a standard offense where the quarterback is taking a 5-step drop and he's trying to hang in the pocket, then that Kaiser, that spire, is going to react differently. Once he sees you get to that set position and you're going to be in the pocket, he'll attack. Yeah. But if you run a series of moving pockets, roll right, roll left, play action, just a movable quarterback, then it kind of challenges that spy technique a little bit more.
All right, let's look at the offense. Drake Maye, obviously the 3rd overall pick, so yet another young quarterback. They look younger, and we're getting older, because when I saw him at the podium the other day, man, he's a young-looking guy, but big, sturdy guy in the pocket, but a guy that can move. I think he surprised a lot of folks with his 95 yards rushing last week. What else are you seeing about his performance?
Drake Maye reminds me a lot of a young John Elway. Because what John Elway can do, if he doesn't necessarily have a perfect understanding of the play he just called, he trusts his athleticism enough that he has the escapability that he can fatigue the defense and then find the open receiver and trust his arm talent. And so when you look at these two guys that are more, 3 decades from each other, there's similarities in their athleticism that will help them get through their rookie year before they start developing knowledge of the system that in the defenses they're going to see.
One of the first things I think of with this team, they could play bully ball with you if they choose to. Ramondre Stevenson is that kind of a back, yards after contact, as long as he gets some movement from his guys up front, and they've had some issues on the offensive line. And then they got veteran tight ends, 2 9-year guys that can easily just set up and catch some balls and move the sticks.
I'm never going to let anybody come in here and play bully ball against me. If you want to go bully to bully, if you want to go punch for punch, the Bears have the opportunity to do that with DeAndre Swift, Roschon Johnson. They got a couple of good blocking tight ends themselves. So look, if you want to turn it into that type of game, let's go.
All right, that's going to wrap us up. Tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. Bears Patriots, noon, Soldier Field. We'll talk to you on ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network from Soldier Field. Special thanks to former New England Patriots linebacker and local product Rob Ninkovich. For Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak. Thanks for listening, everyone. Please subscribe now to the Bears official app, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Bear down, everybody.